In the
Is he giving narrative to the anti-Semitic point of view, or that was so ingrained? Is he simply giving narrative, and this is not really an expression of his views, or was it so ingrained that you can't really separate the narrative from his own views?
People would give you different answers to that, and there isn't a definitive answer to that, though of course I have an opinion, and as do many people. So as you say, it is a narrator who gives these anti-Semitic views. So the Canterbury Tales, as I've already said, is a tale collection told by a variety of different people. They are all unreliable. None of them are authoritative tellers. They are satirized in various ways. So a figure called the Prioress, so an important nun, a religious figure, who is heavily satirized in the description of her. She's described as being much more interested in love than in religion. She has a brooch that says on it, "Love conquers all, amor vincit omnia." She's obsessed with her pet animals, but then brutal about human beings. So she's a satirized figure. She tells a monstrously anti-Semitic tale. So her story is it's one of the blood libels that were told very frequently in medieval Europe and in later European anti-Semitism. So a story about a group of Jews who murder a Christian child. So it's a completely abhorrent story. And some people would say that anti-Semitism was so common at this time that it's almost impossible to believe that an Englishman at this time would not have had those views, that they were almost universal. I don't think that's true. I think we see for instance through Chaucer's travels that he certainly did experience many people who were working alongside and with Jews, and who did not think of them simply as this monstrous stereotype. And he obviously, as I've also just been saying, knew that Jewish scholars were learned and intelligent and important to him. What we see in the Prioress's tale is one person's point of view. There are some interesting aspects about this which might back up the idea that Chaucer does not want us to think about this as his point of view. First of all, he doesn't want us to think of any of these tales as his point of view, and he goes out of his way to separate the narrators from himself. In the Prioress's prologue and tale, he inserts a couple of moments where he breaks away from the story to say, "Quod she said." He almost never does that in the Canterbury Tales. So he's quite deliberately reminding us that this is someone speaking at this time. He also, and I think this is, well, I think there's a couple of other just interesting things to say. There's lots of versions of this story at this time. The Prioress's version is more extreme in its brutality than other versions. So for instance, they're all horrific, but in other versions at the end, most commonly the Jewish perpetrators of the murder, most commonly they convert at the end, or the person who actually committed the murder is executed. In the Prioress's version, everyone who knew about the crime is executed, and in a brutal way. They are pulled apart by horses. And within this story, you also have some of the people in authority say they give an eye for an eye justification for this, saying evil shall have that evil have deserved. Though of course what they're actually doing is much more than an eye for an eye kind of justice, in that they are killing many people in return for one. But then quite shortly after that, the Prioress begs for mercy for herself and keeps repeating the word mercy and talking about how she wants mercy, she wants God to be merciful to her, she prays for mercy. And I think that this is a very stark contrast, and it is satirical. I think we can read this as someone who is absolutely blinkered and narrow, who has a bloodlust, and again there's this sense that she loves her little animals, she cries when she sees mice in a trap, but she has this bloodlust about human beings, and she applies one attitude to them, this, you will all be killed, a response to one crime, while for herself begging for mercy, and not seeing the tension between those perspectives.